0 Liberty torches out of 24. Newt Gingrich had 4 Liberty torches out of 24. President Obama had 16 Liberty torches out of 24. Ron Paul had 18 Liberty torches out of 24. And Gary Johnson had 21 Liberty torches out of 24. So, the Libertarian Party, me running for President of the United States, I'm on the ballot in 48 states. I'm also on the ballot in the District of Columbia. I'm an official write-in candidate in Michigan. The only state where I am not on the ballot is Oklahoma. They should wear a necklace of shame for the fact that I believe for 4 election cycles there has not been a third party on the ticket. It doesn't have to do with citizens of Oklahoma. It has to do with elected officials in Oklahoma, and they should be ashamed for what they've done. But they've done that. So putting that into perspective, there are other third-party candidates running for President of the United States, but none of them come close to 50-state ballot access. I believe the Green Party is on the ballot in 30 states. The Constitution ballot, I think, half a constitutional ticket, half of that. So when I talk about my opponents, I'm talking about Mitt Romney and Barack Obama because we're the 3 that are on the ballot, like in my case, with the exception of 1 state. So I'm the only candidate out of the 3 that does not want to bomb Iran. Stop with the military interventions. Stop! We're going to end up with another 100 billion enemies to this country that we would not otherwise have. Do you know the largest demonstration in the world in support of the United States after 9/11 was in Iran, in Tehran, where over 1 million citizens showed up in support of the United States, and we're going to bomb Iran? Right now, we have a trade embargo on Iran. As a result of that trade embargo, life in Iran right now is horrible. Inflation is running at 75%. Do the citizens of Iran blame their government for this? No. They blame the United States because of this. How about the notion of trade with Iran? How about actually opening up diplomacy as opposed to shooting first? I'm the only candidate running for President of the United States that wants to get out of Afghanistan tomorrow and bring the troops home. The root of all evil, politicians beating their chests in the name of elect me and re-elect me, and I'm going to save you from the illegal immigrant, I'm going to save you from drugs, I'm going to save you from poor health care, I'm going to save you from terrorism. And when it comes to saving you from terrorism, tens of thousands of innocent civilians die in these countries where we militarily intervene. Our men and servicewomen are dying. Our men and servicewomen are coming back with their limbs blown off, all in the name of politicians that don't have a clue as to why we are vilified worldwide, as opposed to the beacon on the hill, as opposed to the country that's always stood up to the bully, as opposed to being the bully. Fundamental to governing is the pledge that the President of the United States takes to govern under strict adherence to the United States Constitution. Military intervention would start with congressional approval, but let's not militarily intervene. We're going to attack when we're attacked, not the other way around. In the notion of strict adherence to the United States Constitution, I am the only candidate running for President of the United States that believes that marriage equality is a constitutionally guaranteed right. It's on par with civil rights of the 60s. I'm the only candidate running for President of the United States that wants to end the drug wars now. Legalize marijuana now. We are at a tipping point on this issue. 50% of Americans now support legalizing marijuana. Why is the number so high? It's because we're talking about it. It's because people are recognizing that 90% of the drug problem is prohibition-related, not use-related. That's not to discount the problems with use and abuse, but that should be the focus. In just a few days, next Tuesday, Colorado will vote on whether or not they want to legalize marijuana in Colorado. Coloradans get it. 6 years ago, citizens of Denver voted to decriminalize marijuana on a campaign based on marijuana being safer than alcohol. Growing up in New Mexico as a neighbor to Colorado, I've always been struck by the fact that Colorado, on a per capita basis, has more marijuana smokers than any other state. And how is it going to work that Colorado is going to change the world by voting marijuana legal? When everybody in the country gets on an airplane to go to Denver for the weekend to chill out, that's how this is going to work. How would it have worked if we would have had a president of the United States after 9/11 that had no aversion to vetoing legislation? I would have vetoed the Patriot Act. Department of Homeland Security, unbelievably irrelevant. There would be no TSA. I would leave airport security to the airlines, to the airports, to the states and the municipalities, but not the federal government. How would it have worked to have a president with no aversion to vetoing legislation when it came to the National Defense Authorization Act? I would have vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act, allowing for you and I as U.S. citizens to be arrested and detained without being charged. Isn't this why we fought wars in this country, is to prevent that from happening? I think this country is going to suffer a monetary collapse as a result of printing money, borrowing money to the tune of 43 cents out of every dollar that we're spending. The only way that we avert this, and it's not a fail-safe, but But square one is balancing the federal budget now. So I'm the only candidate running for president of the United States that is promising to deliver a balanced budget to Congress in the year 2013. And that means taking on the entitlements. That means taking on Medicare, Medicaid, military spending. 2 weeks ago, we had a debate with Obama and Romney, and they're arguing over who's going to spend more money on Medicare, when Medicare is a system that you and I put $30,000 into, and we receive a $100,000 benefit. Whatever we put into Medicare, we're receiving 3 times the benefit as opposed to what we're paying in. This is absolutely unsustainable, and the raging debate and discussion that should go on in this country is over how we cut these programs by 43% and still provide a safety net for those, a health care safety net for those over 65 and those that are poor. But that's the discussion, that's the debate that's not taking place right now. The debate that's not taking place right now is cutting the military by 43%. Cutting the military by 43% takes us back to 2003 spending levels. And let me start with a premise. The premise is we need and have an obligation to provide ourselves with a strong national defense. But defense is the operative word, not offense and not nation building. And then they talk about jobs and how to create jobs in this country. Well, here's how you make that happen. You eliminate income tax, you eliminate corporate tax, you abolish the IRS, and you replace all of it with one federal consumption tax. In this case, I'm embracing the fair tax. It ends up being cost neutral because you're going to bleed out all existing federal non-transparent tax out of goods and services. It's the answer when it comes to our exports, making our exports 23% more competitive. It's the answer when it comes to jobs. If in a zero corporate tax rate environment, the private sector doesn't create tens of millions of jobs, then nothing we do can create any jobs whatsoever. Manufacturing jobs will flock back to the United States given a zero corporate tax rate environment. We need strong U.S. dollar policy, not weak U.S. dollar policy. So I'm the only candidate running for president that would abolish the Federal Reserve and Congress would start up. And the Federal Reserve, what an inside game. Treasury prints money, they give it to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve gives the money to the banks at 0%. Do the banks give it to you or I? No. They buy up treasuries in a closed loop, making profits off of you and I without taking any risk whatsoever. How come this isn't a game that we can all take part in? This is the tip of the spear when it comes to crony capitalism in the United States. The fair tax would issue pink slips to half of Washington lobbyists because half of Washington lobbyists are there to honor loopholes. Loopholes are for sale, both parties are selling them. Let's just get rid of the opportunity to do that. I'm the only candidate running for president of the United States that if given the opportunity, I would sign legislation that would take away legal tender laws and establish competing currencies where we might actually have commodity-based currency. Strong U.S. dollar as opposed to weak U.S. dollar. I ran 2 campaigns for governor where I did not mention my opponent in print, radio, or television. The point is, I did not run one single negative ad. Not even, here's my opponent. I think people are hungry to vote for a leader as opposed to the lesser of 2 evils. Listening to Obama's 82,000 negative ads last month against Romney, listening to Romney's 82,000 negative ads against Obama, the only reason I'm hearing that I should vote for Obama is that Romney is horrible. The only reason I'm hearing that I should vote for Romney is that Obama is horrible. Is that the real reason that we want to vote for somebody? Don't we want to vote for somebody that's going to get up and doggedly pursue agendas that they run on and talk about and should be in office to actually implement? So, verbal criticism of President Obama. You know what? Nothing that comes out of his mouth do I disagree with. I liken him to playing a violin. All the words are terrific. It's just that the words don't match up with the reality in any way, shape, or form. I never believed that he was going to balance the budget. I never believed that he was going to cut federal spending, but he did say those things, and he continues to say those things. I did believe him when it came to war. I thought that our military interventions would be scaled way back, but he is as militaristic a president as we have ever had. Military interventions right now are at an absolute high. We are bankrolling the Syrian insurgents, and a quarter of the Syrian insurgents are jihadists. Did we not learn anything in Afghanistan? Nothing in Afghanistan? When it came to marriage equality, when it came to gay rights, I really thought that he was going to advance the ball. But when he talks about marriage equality and the fact that it should be a states' rights issue, where 42 states have said that marriage is between a man and a woman, effectively he's saying he is not going to address that issue at all. Adopt the very tax, half the issues surrounding marriage equality go away, because half the issues surrounding marriage have to do with the tax code in this country. And then President Obama, when it came to the drug war, I thought that he said some very favorable things. But you know what? He promised that he would not crack down on medical marijuana. He stopped. He said that, where states have implemented medical marijuana facilities, where legislatures, where citizens have voted to implement these facilities, I'm not going to spend any federal money cracking down on that. That would be a waste. Well, he's cracking down on facilities. He's shutting down facilities in California and in Colorado, and he promised that he wouldn't do that, and he's done that. Mitt Romney, during the second Republican debate, said it's a no-brainer that we should build a fence across the border. As a border state, that is a crazy